Good morning, gentlemen.
Hello.
Like your good self, Mr. Clegg, I'm married to a Spanish lady.
You lucky man.
Oh, tell me about it. We have two bright and
supposed to mean,
fantastic
James?
children. She's listening. We've got to be nice, yeah? We have two children. We thought we had to move out of Newham because of the lack of English being spoken in the borough and in East London. Us, for ourselves, we speak English at home, but when my wife is at home with the children, she speaks Spanish to them, so they have the two languages. But the trouble is, most people now don't do that. I mean, so they just expect their kids to learn English at school. So while it is great we're going to have a generation of bilingual children, we're going to suffer with the general curriculum. So my question is, what do you speak at home? Do you speak English or Spanish?
So I speak English to my kids, and Miriam speaks Spanish. So we speak in our own languages to our children. So a bit like yours, our three children have been brought up bilingually. I think you're making a wider point, though, James, about the lack of spoken English in your own community where you live. Is that what you're saying?
There is, yeah. I mean, it's most of the communities speak their own languages to each other because they all hang around with their own.
No, just on that, I have very strong views on this. Everybody, of course, should speak in their home the languages that they want, and if other languages sort of come naturally to them, they're entirely free to do that. But I couldn't agree with you more. If you want a cohesive society where people understand each other, mutually respect each other, tolerate each other, obey the law, play by the rules of the game, you've got to have a shared language. Of course you do. And that's why, I mean, sometimes it's caused some controversy, but I've been an unapologetic supporter, obviously, an advocate of the things that our government's done, this coalition government, to strengthen the language tests for people who kind of coming into this country in terms of the visas that people take up and the permission to work in this country. And also, we've just recently announced, just last week, that we're going to significantly strengthen the expectations on people who are looking for work and are receiving out-of-work benefits to show that they are taking up language courses in order to make sure that when they find work, they find work and are able to take out that work speaking proper English.
James, how much has your question to the Deputy Prime Minister been coloured by the news that came out earlier this week that in some inner London boroughs, I think it was Newham, Westminster and Tower Hamlets, 3 out of 4 primary school children do not speak English when they get to their homes? Is that what sort of informed your question, James?
That is, yeah. I mean, I think that's an underestimation, to be honest with you.
Really?
It's really bad.
Okay.
Look, I mean, James,
that is a concern. 3 London boroughs, just to remind you, Newham, Tower Hamlets and Westminster. In primary school, 3 and 4 children go to their homes and they don't speak English.
Yeah. Well, look, any mum and dad who is sending their child to a school to learn, forget what politicians do, forget what governments do, forget the policy stuff I've just talked about. As a mum and dad, you're not doing your child any service by not equipping your little daughter or son with the ability to communicate with their classmates. I mean, it's just not a very fair thing to do.
How much Spanish do you speak?
I'm pretty good. What do you want? Do you want us to start?
No.
Do you want James and I to start gathering in Spanish?
No. Are you bilingual?
No.
For instance,
I speak a number of languages.
If you go to a restaurant,
yeah,
and the 5 of you, do you speak about the restaurant, the menu in English? Do you speak about Kung Fu Panda?
If we're out and about, I think Miriam might call in and dispute this, but actually the default language probably becomes English a bit more than Spanish, just partly because our kids obviously they're at schools here in London. But look, I'm lucky, very lucky, because I was brought up speaking different languages and I speak Spanish and so
right.
On.
So they couldn't have a conversation about you and you wouldn't know what was going on. Miriam couldn't sit there with the 3 kids saying no. So when they're planning a surprise birthday present for Dad, they can't just drop into Spanish or something like that.
No.
Okay. All right. No. James, thank you. We move on. Other calls.
Secrets and surprises in the Clegg house.
No secrets or surprises are allowed.